Come on, talk! Talk! Don't make me get the rubber hose.
Hello and welcome wherever you are to Alfsplaining with me, Ben Baker.
And me, John Matthews.
And this is obviously us talking about the American sitcom Alf. And Alf, as we know, is a puppet. And this episode is called I'm Your Puppet.
It is.
But I'm not going to make any jokes about sticking your hand up or out like that. I know it's too easy.
Well, that'd make a change, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Spider-Man. But no, this is, of course, a classy show, a civilized show. More importantly, a show which knows what the name of I'm Your Puppet is in Germany.
In German, this show about a puppet is called Paul's Puppenspieler. That's Paul's Puppenspieler, which translates as Paul's Puppeteer. Who's pulling the strings, goes the write-up in German. In English, Alf's ventriloquist dummy Paul causes chaos until a psychiatrist helps tame Alf's alter ego. And that's the entire plot.
It really is. Yeah, as we'll get to. So this first aired in America on March 21st, 1988. And the ratings were 19.3 million, putting it 10th.
Oh, it's just cresting that top 10 again.
Brilliantly between the Golden Girls and Matlock. So the older generation, and then there's the punk Alf in between them, you know, doing the V's on his skateboard.
Yeah, challenging authority.
It's classic. Very much the grenade in the staid old world of American TV. That's what we like. The director was Bert Brinkhoff, who, of course, we've had a few times. And the writers were some people apparently called Mike Reiss and Al Jean?
Never heard of them.
Oh, wait, no, of course, they're our new celebrity pals.
Oh,
and
that
actually,
one, yeah.
when we had the opportunity to talk to them, we got a little bit of extra recording of them talking about the background on this episode.
One of those upcoming episodes is the puppet one. I'm Your Puppet, with the which is coming up. So it would be useful, I think, wouldn't it, Ben, if we had a quote from you or some comment about it that we could paste into the episode at some point. An interesting fact about I'm Your Puppet.
Doesn't even have to be interesting, just a fact.
Now, I have a great one. You really need the visuals for it, but it was the idea. It's where Alf gets a ventriloquist dummy, and we name so here it is, a puppet operating a puppet. Yeah. We named the puppet Paul, because Paul Fusco was operating Alf. So we go, oh, it's super meta. I mean, we're in Charlie Kaufman territory here. But the prop guy made the puppet look like Paul Fusco. And we all knew it. We were all in on the joke. And Paul Fusco, nobody ever told him. And he would look at the puppet. He goes, this is a weird puppet. Who does it look like? It looks like Jamie Farr from Matt. I don't think he ever knew it was him.
I believe that was the first one we had a writing credit written by. And what I think happened, if I can recall, is it had a funny table read, but then for some reason doing, with the puppet, the dummy, it became sort of stilted on shooting, and I was kind of like disappointed. And then the next one I think we wrote was The Boy Next Door, with the kid that was specifically introduced to give Alf another person to talk to. And I was so grateful that you had like this live kid who could do stuff. And it was like, it wasn't just all puppets.
Wonderful. I thank you so much again to Mike and Al. You're not listening, but if you were, thank you for giving us those little tidbits there. So, as you've said already, there is a dummy in this episode, and it is called Paul, after Paul Fusco, the man under Alf. That is going to be a thing going throughout this, because it is an episode about Alf getting a dummy, and there's a lot of meta in that. But it never really leans on that. I'm going to say that up front. That's never the joke, like, can you imagine? Boo-boo.
there's room to delve deeper into this episode to think of what is Paul Fusco's psyche in this? What are the writers trying to say about puppeteers and the relationship with their puppets and things like that? The fact is, they don't really delve deep into that, but it gives it the foundation, and it makes this a much more toothy episode. You can really get your fingers into it. It's not as shallow as normal, is what I'm saying.
No.
It's like a thick Victoria sponge of an episode.
Oh, can we stop recording and go get a Victoria sponge?
Let's do that now.
Well, we're back now.
God,
it was delicious.
man alive.
We definitely did do that. It wasn't just artifice. So we have a cold open, which sometimes the cold opens are like the start of the story. Sometimes they're just something random happening Alf is doing. And this one is very much of the latter. So we start with Alf doing a thing. And what is laid before him, John?
A car. Alf has built a car in the sitting room. And we must stress again that this has nothing to do with the rest of the plot. But there is a car, a full, like a three-wheeler car that's clearly built out of bits and pieces Alf has found around the place.
Yeah.
And it's a very elaborate prop for this unlinked opening scene. It's quite amazing.
It really is. It's got fence slats in it and sort of like batteries and wires and random cans and stuff, and there's even some furry dice.
The famous furry dice from season 1. There's a fire extinguisher on there as well. So, safety first with the old Alpha.
Search first. When asked what is on it, he says he's got the brakes from Lynn's bicycle, the engine from Willie's lawnmower, and the seat cover from Kate's wedding dress.
Yeah, and she's angry about this, obviously. But Alf rightly points out, well, when were you going to wear it again?
Yeah, because again, we do have another Alf's doing a thing. Kate comes in and said, "Whoa, what you doing, you old bloody Alf?" We get this line.
What is that?
My new wheels. This will really impress the chicks. Are you impressed?
No.
I was talking to the chick, not the mother hen.
Very pardon my zinger, Alf. Oof, cuts deep. Yeah, I'm not sure about that one, really. But, sometimes you feel like Kate really doesn't get a lot to do. And indeed, Reiss did say, when we spoke to him, like, they'd never really wrote enough for the other characters.
Yeah, and it was a source of regret. And but, you're in that whirlwind at the time. You can't do everything.
No, especially when you've got Alf building a car in the living room. Oh, what sort of car is it?
It's an Alf Romeo, ladies and gentlemen.
Great guy, Your Majesty. So he says, get this car out of here, and it sort of sets off and smashes into a table. And we get a brilliant line. Great, now I have to build a tow truck.
And I think that was worth the elaborate setup for this. That was a really, really brilliant line.
Yeah.
And that's it. The seed's over and it will never be referenced again. But I think it was worth it, to be honest.
We've got a simple start to the actual episode. And Willie gets a package for Alf Tanner from Pete the Delivery Guy.
How much? $29.95. You got off easy this time.
There you go. I'll see ya.
Yeah, probably this afternoon.
This is a guy called Fred Goss. Apparently didn't do much as an actor, but this was his first ever professional gig in Alf as a delivery guy, but went on to be a director of stuff like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, New Girl, Community, and Modern Family.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's incredible. I didn't even think to look him up, to be honest.
Tiny acorns.
Well, that's a bit rude.
Well, he had very tight delivery shorts on, so...
It's a very economical scene, and it sets up the characters and the situation extraordinarily well. You know from about 4 words this happens all the time.
Yeah, it's like this guy knows Alf, but he doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's very minor. I like the fact it's there. It didn't have to be there as a scene.
Oh, he's great.
You could have just started with Willie walking in, where's Alf, there's a package for you. Willie does shout that there's a package and
a lecture.
Yeah. For waiting for him, and Alf's upset because they always come together. And he puddles in the living room in one of his more exciting shirts.
Yeah,
which he pretty much sticks with the entire episode. It's a muted Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah. It's kind of classy.
I like it. I'd wear it. So yeah, he wants to know what his package is, and there's some great hand puppetry. He's kind of like diving into the box. I mean, I assume that's Lisa Buckley, who was like, we found out was the other arm
This is the thing. We don't want to over egg our friendship with Mike Reiss and say that everything he's done is fantastic. But the writing here is brilliant. It's proper classic Gene and Reiss writing. Because the gag here I loved. Alf runs in going, "Oh boy, it came." Lynn goes, "What is it this time?" And Alf goes, "Beats me."
And similarly, once he's actually in there and he's throwing packing peanuts all over the place, Willie admonishes him. So he starts, of course, just having a bit of an eat on them, just because again, it feels very Homer Simpson-y, doesn't it? It feels
Yes.
that sort of like the noble fool. And yes, we get into the box and it's a creepy ass ventriloquist puppet, proper wooden old school puppet. Although Alf has yet to learn actually what puppets are and what they do because, well.
Oh yeah, he thinks it'll just talk anyway.
Yeah.
This little puppet that looks like Jamie Farr.
It really does. So we have a scene change here, but it's still the same scene, really. And Alf's sort of on the table, sort of struggling with the puppet. He can't understand it while Lynn's reading the manual. And there's a line here from Max Wright. We just kind of, I'm going to paste it in, but it just really seems to have checked out.
I know the line you're going to paste in.
He's broken, Willie. Looks like you blew $30.
Alf, I'm not going to raise my voice. I'm not going to threaten you. I'm just going to say for the 928th time, please don't ever do this again.
He sounds defeated. He sounds depressed. It's just.
He does, and then he just stumbles off.
But at some point, also during this scene, Alf is threatening the puppet because he can't get the puppet to speak. Obviously, he doesn't know what it is, and he says, "Don't make me get the rubber hose." And I don't know. I searched it on Google, and the only reference is to this episode of Alf.
Is it like a whip thing? Like a.
Maybe that's it.
I don't know. I don't know.
The way it was said, it felt like a well-known phrase or saying.
Like it's a thing, yeah.
Yeah. But I've not got.
I never thought about it. No,
I've not got to it. So if anybody out there knows what Alf means by "Don't make me get the rubber hose," please get in touch.
And this is pre-Sounds of the Lamb, so it's not even that.
Yeah.
But Lynn says Alf shouldn't spend so much of other people's money. But of course, unluck you, Melmac. That was a good thing, not bad, like you and Skeletor thought. So Lynn says, you just pull this little string and he'll open his mouth and say whatever you want. And Alf goes, "We had a guy like that at Melmac, our president."
Great sitcom.
Satire.
Great sitcom gag.
Satire.
I like the fact that at this point, the styrofoam peanuts are everywhere. I mean, they're not just spilled over the table. They are across the entire set. As far as I can see, are styrofoam packing peanuts. And that really did make me laugh an enormous amount.
Yeah. So Alf learns what to do after some "don't move your lips, what lips?" sort of comedy.
Another good gag. Gags are plenty, obviously. It's recent Al Jean.
He's full of gags. Kate the Shrew, obviously, comes in dressed as Action Ragdolly Anna, and she's got the vacuum because the floor is obviously covered in packing peanuts. And, she wants Alf to do some cleaning up after himself, but he's distracted. He's got his puppet, but he doesn't know what to call it.
You heard the lady. You better put that thing away.
It's not a thing. It's my new pal. What do you think I should name him?
I don't know. Their names are usually goofy, like Mortimer Snurd, Knucklehead Smith.
No, I didn't realise they were real puppet names, you see. I just thought she was...
I did. I did.
You
Because I'm a nerd for that stuff.
More of an expert on this situation than me.
But we do have someone who's an even bigger nerd than both of us on puppets.
So I asked him, still not knowing that they were real things, and this is what he had to say for himself.
Mortimer Snurd is a ventriloquist dummy performed by a man called Edgar Bergen from America. Mortimer Snurd was his secondary character. His main character was called Charlie McCarthy, and you could buy Charlie McCarthy and Mortimer Snurd ventriloquist dummies in the past. That puppet was one of those.
So yeah, the one that's supposed to be Paul Fusco is a Mortimer Snurd puppet that's been adapted.
It's a commercially available Mortimer Snurd puppet that has been adapted by the prop department. Paul Fusco would not have been involved.
So Phil Fletcher there said that he knew Mortimer Snurd, didn't he?
Mm.
And he said this doll that Alpha's got is kind of a sort of adapted version of it because they were on sale. Obviously, I don't know how long for. But Knucklehead Smith is also a real puppet from someone else called Paul Winchell, who was a huge star in the 50s and 60s in America, and later went on to be the original voice of Tigger in the Winnie the Pooh cartoons.
Oh, right. I knew the
and
name
the
from
Tigger
somewhere.
voice is the Knucklehead Smith voice.
Knucklehead. Say, Jerry left already. You better hurry. You'll be late for school.
Oh, I ain't going to school, Mr. Winkle.
Oh, you two? Listen, Knuck. Let's talk about it, shall we? What is it?
Oh, it ain't no use, sir. They can't teach me nothing.
Knucklehead. They can't teach me anything.
Oh, you must be stupid too, huh?
Oh, right. Okay.
He went on to do Dick Dastardly as well and Gargamel in the Smurfs.
Right.
Brilliantly. This is just, I didn't know this on his Wikipedia page, but he also had medical training and became one of the first people to patent a mechanical artificial heart.
Well, what a life.
I know. I mean,
what a life.
You don't need to know all this stuff, but if you do, you're well catered for.
Yeah.
But of course, you don't want a wacky name like that.
No.
He's gone for
Paul.
That's not a goofy name.
Well, it is on Melmac. One time I called a guy Paul. I ended up with 14 stitches. It's a good thing I didn't call him a son of a Paul.
And again, when they say the name of the puppet is Paul, I wonder how many people were sat at home going, I get that reference.
I can't imagine you did a lot because, did people know it was Paul Fusco has just a sort of producer's credit at the moment. He's not even credited as a performer in the show at all at this point.
No, it's like his name went out there. If you knew where to look, you knew it was him.
Yeah.
As Alf. But it was still keeping the secret quite contained as much as possible that he was the voice of Alf.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then we get some more nonsense.
Hey, look, this teaches you how to talk without moving your mouth. Repeat after me. A boy bought a baboon.
What boy?
I don't know.
Well, where did he buy it?
It doesn't matter.
Can I have one?
It never happened.
Then why are you spreading these rumors?
That's it. I'm doing my homework someplace else.
Why is she spreading these rumours? So an exasperated Lynn leaves, which means it's time for exasperating Brian, who asks if Alf wants to play
a computer game. Not sure what it is. Maybe I'll put a screen grab up.
Well, he has a toy with him, doesn't he? Like, I can't work out if that is meant to be like the computer game in question, like an Astro Invaders or whatever.
Yeah, it looks like that kind of thing. Maybe I'll put up a screen grab and an expert can tell us what it is.
Yeah, please do. But he ditches out quickly when Alf says, yeah, the game is doing the hoovering up.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So Alf's left alone with Paul, and he might just be getting the hang of it. ... In this, there are loads of establishing shots, so cutting away, cutting back. So most of this seems to take place in about 24 hours or less. Again, time is negligible with Alf.
Yeah.
But, this establishing shot shows it's night time now, and the same night, presumably, as Alf has got the same Hawaiian shirt on. And he's behind his portal, looking into the kitchen.
Now the Tanner Dinner Theatre. Maybe that's how we should refer to his portal from now on.
I mean, yes, he's dinner theatre hall.
But he's there with the puppet in the portal, and the family are trying to have dinner, or at least trying to start to have dinner.
Yeah.
And initially they seem irritated by this, but they soon warm to the act, and they treat it as if it's a child doing some sort of theatrical performance in front of them, much as, say, Brian would have done had they given Brian anything to do.
Yeah. We didn't kill him. But Paul starts making some great gags at the expense of, firstly, the meal, but then Alf himself, and he starts like ratting him out like what he did with the packing peanuts, and then he bites Alf.
Yeah, I know. It's starting to get a bit sort of dark.
Yeah, there's still like it's a joke, but it's clearly already going a bit odd, and they'd like to leave you with something the dear departed grandfather said.
Tola nigri boga nudada.
Is that Melmacian?
No, it's gibberish. The man was a babbling idiot.
Good gag. Good gag. Excellent. So the family clap, they've had enough. But Alf still wants to do their showstopper.
Well, Alf goes, before the Alf goes, Alf does, hey, how about some applause? It is best sort of Rodney Dangerfield. I always flag it up whenever he does the Rodney Dangerfield, because it happens every
There is a lot of that.
few episodes, and that was as good as it got, I think.
And what is the showstopper?
Well, they sing enough of Ebony and Ivory so that you know what it is, but they fade it out before they have to actually pay royalties.
Yeah, and I mean, that's obviously Paul McCartney and Stevie Wonder single from is it like an early 1982? It's quite a dated reference, but
Yeah.
it's an easy duet. So that's over with because we get another establishing shot of the house. It's still night time, and this time it zooms into the window, which is presumably Willie and Kate's bedroom, because that's where we are when we fade in.
Yeah.
They're both in bed, and Kate has a very thick, coverless book she's reading, which looks like it should say something like The Big Book of Tough Sums on it or something. It's like a comedy prop book,
It's definitely something from the 1800s.
It really is. And Willie also has a hardback.
Oh?
By which I mean his penis.
Hooray!
He sidles up for some Alf-free intercourse.
And he does sidle. If you can imagine somebody sidling in bed.
Shuffle. Yeah, yeah. Oh, he's keen. And I suppose it's because, as we'll later on get to, that Angeline becomes pregnant, so Kate becomes pregnant. So I guess they have to show, no, they do occasionally have intercourse, so it's
foreshadowing.
It's in canon. But of course, as soon as they get even into the snogging, there's Alf, or rather, there's Paul hanging over the side of the bed, and Paul has now turned into a full-on insult comic. Although Alf seems somewhat detached from it.
I'd like to start with my impression of Alf. Me? Yeah, you, furbrain.
Yo, Wilhelm, you're going to have one less mouth to feed. I ate your cat.
Oh, very funny. Good night.
Good night. Impression number 2. Someone who ate Kate's cooking. Blah!
That you could occasionally see Alf's lips moving, which I thought was a brilliant little thing, really tiny bit of movement, that we realised he was still operating Paul, and that Paul hadn't gained sentience, and this was turning into some sort of horror movie.
Yeah. Because that's how it kind of feels, especially with this next scene, which we cut to another. It's still at night. We have another night establishing shot, and Willie stumbles into the kitchen, presumably for something to cool his ardour, and Paul speaks up.
Yeah, the voice from the darkness.
Yeah.
If you're looking for the roast beef, I set it free. Oh no, Willie goes, hi, Alf.
But it's not Alf.
Alf's asleep. And Alf, you cut to this shot of Alf asleep. You can see his eyes are closed. But Paul is awake.
Oh, and Willie does a face, and we get a cookie happening sting.
There's a good thing there, actually, a thing to note. There's a postcard on the wall in the background in that sort of American tourist style. But it said The Moon on it.
Yes, I did make a note of that. That was very cool. So you'll never guess what we have next.
What would we have next?
It's another establishing shot with a zoom.
Good.
Now into the garage, where Alf is packing a case because Paul says they have to run away because this place is a suburban Sing Sing. Do we have to say what Sing Sing is?
Yeah, we might as well.
Well, it's a maximum security prison in New York, basically. Famous. So it's still going. So one of them mornings.
It's still going, is it? Oh, that's nice to hear.
Yeah.
Nice to hear, yeah.
Yeah, it's just nice to hear that people are still being locked up for terrible crimes. Hideous crimes. Speaking of hideous crimes, Brian turns up as they're packing this case, and he runs away to rat out the fact that Al's trying to escape.
He's a grass.
And so Paul's saying stuff like, well, grab that radio over there. And Al's going, we can't do that. It's Willie's. And it's like he's now divided fully into his good and bad sides.
Yeah.
It's like the episode of Red Dwarf, the upper and the lower types, So we've got the two Alves and Willie, who we hadn't done wardrobe yet. So I'll say Willie, when he runs in to the garage at this point, he's dressed literally as everyone's granddad. He's in plaid and he's got a cardi on.
The nation's granddad, Willie Tanner.
But considering he's only in his mid-40s, it's weird. But Kate, who is dressed in spores, apparently, again, there'll be screen grabs, they both come and say, right, that's enough now. It's time to take Paul away, which freaks Alf out because it means that Paul will die.
Well, yes. Yes, it's the classic relationship between puppeteer and puppet. Without them, they have no voice or breath.
Again, it's like that hit quite deep, actually. It's not played for a laugh either.
My pop culture reference came up in this scene.
Well, I was going to say, we now get this line about Ozzie and Harriet.
And that was my pop culture reference of the week. This is a classic pop culture reference of the week, because to an American, this is just innate knowledge. This is something everybody knows about Ozzie and Harriet. But on this side of the pond, and I looked in the Guinness Book of Sitcoms, and certainly when the Guinness Book of Sitcoms was published 30 years ago, Ozzie and Harriet was nowhere to be seen in this. It had never been shown on British TV.
Right.
The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, starring the entire Nelson family. Here's Ozzie. Here's Harriet. Here's David. And here's Ricky. Here they are, America's favorite family, the Nelsons.
Yeah, it's like one of the longest running American sitcoms of all time.
Longest running live action sitcom until It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia usurped it in 2021.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
I started looking it up on Wikipedia, but I got sort of sidetracked into the sort of the Nelson lineage, because the cast of Ozzie and Harriet was Ozzie Nelson, his wife Harriet Nelson, and their children David and Ricky Nelson. Ricky Nelson, who became
Ricky Nelson,
famous pre-Beatles teen idol pop singer.
Yes,
yes. He had children who also went into show business, including Tracy Nelson, who you'll remember from the Father Dowling Mysteries, and his sons Matthew and Gunnar Nelson from the terrible 1990s rock duo Nelson.
Yeah.
Ricky Nelson married Kristen Nelson and spawned these children of showbiz fame. Kristen Nelson was the sister of Mark Harmon, the actor who is married to Pam Dorber. So the showbiz family tree of the Nelsons spreads far and wide. And that, you can understand, is why I didn't really get into exactly what the Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet really was.
I bet it's sitcom. I can't imagine it's particularly different from what you'd imagine.
No, I can't imagine that either.
So, yeah. Willie says, okay, you go on your way. And at this point, we got my favourite line. Yeah.
What did you do that for?
Don't worry. I'm getting psychiatric help.
Good for you, honey, but what about Alf?
It's such a brilliant sitcom line, in it. You can imagine that in any sitcom, but Angeline just delivers it so perfectly, and it is.
Well, yeah, because she doesn't say it as like, but what about Alf? She's like, says it, but she's like serious, like, oh, yeah, that's good for you, but what about Alf?
Exactly.
She's just to the point where she might have noticed a few things about Willie.
She's the best actor in this.
She really is. So we got inside, and Alf, Paul, and Lynn are watching what appears to be just endless car chases on television. Yeah, so you can hear just car noises and stuff. And Paul is creepy to Lynn, so she leaves. And Willie, who's watching from the other side of the portals, has a great line at this point.
Was it talk about a puppet dictator?
It certainly was. Great gag.
My Willie's wardrobe was at this point where he's wearing this incredibly blue cardigan. And I don't think I've ever seen anything that blue on television at all. I'd take a screen grab, but I don't know if the blue will actually translate onto a computer screen. I don't think they have that colour on computers. It is astonishingly deep. It's unbelievable, in fact.
It is. I think it's basically, like you got mood rings. This is a mood jumper for whatever Max Wright was feeling at any point. So we get a returning guest at this point, the psychiatrist Larry, who we first met in season 1. And he arrives to assess the situation. And, last time it was cliche, he was a little bit crap at his job, wasn't he? He was a bit of a gobshite.
Yeah, that's what we surmised at the end of it all. Yeah.
But he's quite calm and polite here. And quickly gets to the bottom of the issue, which is that Alf is tired of rules and he's using sort of Paul to blow off steam. But then, after getting bonked
he did.
By the puppet, he decides that the best thing for Alf to do is...
eat the cat.
Eat the cat. Which again is like, no, Larry, no. But he has a second idea, at least.
It's interesting that instinctively Larry goes straight to that one. Whether Larry was being sort of sardonic and right, because he's a clever fella. He's a smart guy. He understood all the gags that Paul was throwing towards him in their brief interchange. So whether he was just suggesting that as a worst-case scenario, so that he could then pull back to his final suggestion and they would go along with it, I don't know.
And that suggestion, of course, is to break some dishes.
Yeah, his idea is just to dick around, basically.
Yeah. So they go into the living room and start smashing plates and say, hey, Alf, we're doing some smashing plates. You want to get involved? And Alf's like, yeah, mates, pals. And the dummy's obviously going, no, it's a bad idea and stuff. But ultimately, Alf's won over when he says, how many points for hitting that picture of Kate's mother? And my top Willie moment of the entire episode,
Yes.
a lovely giddy Willie says, 100!
Yep.
He's really into this smashing plates thing.
Kate looks horrified and sort of shouts at him for this, but Alf flings a plate at the picture and misses, of course.
And when you say the picture, actually is a photo of Anne Meara, who plays Dorothy, Kate's mum. It is genuinely her.
An actual headshot.
Even from a distance. And it's beautiful. And it's just like, the spell is lifted. This makes Alf and Paul fall out, and Alf just yeets him across the room.
Yeah, we never see the smashed puppet, but there is a reaction of horror towards whatever happens to the puppet. But
I mean, it was pretty horrible before, so I can't imagine it's much worse. And Alf really gets over it very quickly, and he says, "I've lost a friend, but I've regained my left hand."
Yeah,
we've all said that, lads. You having that? You having that?
Yeah. Now, if memory serves, we were chucking plates at Grandma, is his next line, which is a fabulous line.
Again, where else are you getting those
Where
lines?
else do you get lines like that?
In sitcom land,
Yeah.
definitely. So that's it, pretty much. As ever, we always have a final little tag-on scene, and I'm guessing this is the morning after, as Lynn's in a nightgown, and Alf is already sat at the table with what appears to be milk and a cupcake, dressed as one of the levelers. Again, you'll have to see the picture of that. And as a wizard wheeze, he does the Paul voice again and freaks out Lynn.
Yeah.
And he says, nobody likes that joke. Willie and Kate almost fell out of bed, and Brian threw a go-but at me.
Yeah.
Which is my most impenetrable pop culture reference of the week. Well, I mean, it's not that impenetrable. We did have go-bots over here. So seen as a knockoff of Transformers, but I think it might have actually been slightly earlier. Certainly about the same time. And it ran from 83 to 87, and there was a cartoon. And a terrible film called GoBots Battle of the Rock Lords.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a real thing. I think pretty much over by March 1998. So it's a bit of a dated reference. So Brian won't throw one of his good toys.
No.
Or they're just cheap. But either way, I need to say that former guest of ours, Paul Abbott, big GoBots fan, 100% IDST.
Is he?
Yeah, loves them. He's a big fan.
He looks so normal.
Doesn't. Hits them. Dear. So Lynn needs to confirm that Paul has gone. And what has Alf done?
Well, he's given him a traditional Melmac burial, hasn't he? He stuck him in the freezer.
Yeah, the way that Alf hopes to also be buried one day.
Interred.
In the freezer next to the fish sticks. And she opens the freezer and these tiny legs flop out. And that's it. End of episode. It's like, that's a bit dark. But it's not. But it is.
It's a terrific episode. And I don't know if Paul's behaviour was any worse than Alf's normal behaviour.
No.
I remember that episode where Alf went mental in the first season. They had to lock him in a crate, and we didn't really see Alf because they locked him in the crate because Alf was. It was his time of the month or something, and he was going to go.
Horny. He was horny and destructive more than mental.
We didn't see Alf doing anything that we don't normally see him do, and it was the same.
No.
Paul didn't seem to really. He didn't gun anybody down or anything like that.
No, and again, Alf has already ruined Kate's wedding dress at the start, which feels like. Is that too far? But it's just establishing kind of a line, basically, isn't it, for these characters? So, yeah, a really funny episode. Really odd structure in some ways because it's just like, well, it could have been a play.
That's the scene in the middle, the act break, where Willie gets up in the night and the puppet is talking. Now you think, oh my God, what's happening here? Has it turned into a horror movie or something like that? Is the puppet come to life? And then you come back from the ad break and it's clear that it's just Alf was pretending.
Well, was it? We never really get a thing. Clearly his subconscious is acting out a little bit. So maybe he was asleep. We don't know.
We don't know Alf's alien powers, what he can do whilst he's asleep.
We don't. So again, did it need to be Alf? Not really. Unless he was using his alien powers, in which case, yes, it was. But ultimately, it's just someone who gets a bit too attached to a doll.
But it did refer back to Alf's personality as we have developed it over the past year and a half.
True.
So it is Alfie.
Yes, it's not alien, but it is Alf.
Yes.
That makes sense. I saw MVP, not even a character, just Paul Fusco.
Yeah.
For pulling off both roles in, again, it's a very meta sort of thing. You know, he's a puppet operating a puppet, but it's just, it never feels like, ha, 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 you know, sort of nudge, nudge, we're doing a funny joke here. It's kind of believable.
No, it was a really classy and well-constructed script, and I completely agree. Paul Fusco for MVP.
And we're not just saying that because we're friends. We're best friends. We are great best friends with one of the writers of it.
Yeah.
He's a funny episode.
Alf is just funny in himself, so nothing could be happening, but Alf could be still amusing.
And there you go.
3 cheers.
We are amused by Alf. Shock headline for the end of this week's Alf-splaining episode.
55 episodes in, or whatever it is. We're
573 episodes in.
We finally admitted we're amused by Alf.
We are amused by Alf. And if you're amused by Alf, or indeed amused by us, why not talk to us on the social media? We're on Blue Sky, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on
Truth Social.
No, that's just you.
Okay. We also have an email, alfsplaining@yahoo.com, if you want to drop us a line or something, or any ideas for the show, or indeed if you want to send us a voice note so we can paste it in. Voices of the fans, golden Alf memories, the gams.
We will be doing an end of series wrap-up, like we did for series 1. So if you want to send something for that, basically your opinions on this show, or Alf Season 2 in general, please do. Send them along. Or don't. I'm not bothered.
Do it. I mean, do what you like. It's not down to us. You live your lives however you want to.
So, until next time we throw plates at Grandma, I've been Ben Baker.
And I've been Mortimer Snurd.
I don't know what Mortimer Snurd's catchphrase is, so I'm assuming it's that.
Probably.
Get off my lawn, you shitter. I don't know. I assume it was something like that.
It was the 50s.
More plates! That picture taunts me still.